it's reprehensible for anyone to say that about someone who had the life of service that Robert Mueller had. Even more reprehensible for somebody who is the commander-in-chief of the military. To say what the president said about Bob Mueller just shows you how completely self-consumed the president is, because that's what it comes from. It comes from his own sense that the only thing that matters in the world is him.
Instantaneous the way he did it.
And by the way, that's what a child does, John.
Mincing words there on ABC's This Week. Robert Mueller died Friday. He was 81. A decorated Vietnam vet, FBI director, of course, after 9/11, and the special counsel who led the investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election. And that goes to the heart of why the president is so defiant. With those credentials, an American president would typically offer condolences, show some basic human decency, but not Donald Trump. We'll put it up on the screen because this is your president on Truth Social. Robert Mueller just died. Good, I'm glad he's dead. He can no longer hurt innocent people. President Donald J. Trump in all caps. Jank, give us your 2 cents. It's not surprising. No one would be surprised by this kind of thing, but every time he does something like this and so quickly, maybe it's the speed of it, the intensity. It does actually make me kind of just take a deep breath and say, really, again?
Yeah, I think 2 things are interesting. One is that our president is a sociopath, and the other is people's reaction to that. So I'm gonna have a reaction to it, but we're also gonna show you other people's reactions and whether they found it to be perfectly normal or disgusting like any decent person would.
Okay, so then let's move on to the network that exists to just do Trump's bidding. Of course, it's Fox News. They did cover Mueller's death, but according to CNN, Fox mentioned Mueller at least 6 times on air, but never once quoted the president's post on television. But they did it on their website. They led with Trump's words. TV, though, again, silence. Instead, Fox and friends quoted George W. Bush, a more typical president in light of the current one. Think about that. They spent years villainizing Mueller as deep state operative, but when Trump celebrated his death, even Fox News couldn't repeat the disrespect out loud. But their longtime Fox News man, Brit Hume, did break with the network. He posted that Trump's response was the kind of thing that makes people not just oppose him, but hate him. And when Jonathan Karl noted that Trump's response was instantaneous, you heard what Chris Christie had to say. But there's a bigger picture here. This is by no means an isolated moment. This is a documented pattern. He lives for this stuff. Just today, Trump was asked about Joe Kent, tired Green Beret whose wife Shannon, Navy intelligence officer, was killed by a suicide bomber in Syria in 2019. Listen.
He was a man that I met at Dover. He came and his wife was killed. He remarried fairly quickly. His wife was killed, and I felt badly for him. He ran for Congress, he lost. He ran for Congress again and he lost. I said, he's a guy, nice guy, seemed like a very nice guy. I met him, he was pretty heartbroken, pretty. So I told my people, reach out to him, give him a job at the White House. This is the thanks I get.
He calls you a nice guy. He's about to cut you off at the knees. Donald Trump. This is the same playbook, of course, he ran on Congressman Thomas Massie. His wife, Rhonda, died suddenly, you might recall, in 2024 after 31 years of marriage. And this is what Donald Trump posted at the time. Did Thomas Massie, sometimes referred to as Rand Paul Jr., because of the fact that he always votes against the Republican Party, get married already? Boy, that was quick. No wonder the polls have him at less than 8% chance of winning the election. Then he goes on to say the new wife is stuck with a loser. Trump mocked him for remarrying, also referred to Massie's new wife as, quote, question mark. Man married 3 times, Donald Trump mocking a widower. Chuck Schumer boiled it down to something you've heard before. Cruelty is the point. Simple but true, but it's the sociopath stuff. It's the silence from most people. You have Brit Hume, okay, in the Fox orbit, And then, of course, a couple of Democrats doing what is expected, but nobody who worked with, knew, palled around with Robert Mueller or any of these other people speaks up and says much of anything, Cenk.
Yeah. So I remember what happened after Charlie Kirk died. So some people on the left said some unfortunate things. We were certainly not among them, and we were heartbroken because as a young man who had a lot of life to live, who had young kids, and most of us did the right thing. So they found some people who did the wrong thing and they went nuts over it. And then one of the people who did that was Donald Trump. He said, can you believe that anybody would say anything badly about a person who just died? And then he comes out and says that he's glad that Robert Mueller is dead, and good that he's dead. So what happened to all that don't speak ill of the dead? Well, now I'm leaving other folks out of this. This is just about Donald Trump. So obviously Donald Trump didn't mean it, right? And Donald Trump, and look guys, there's people like Dick Cheney, they got a lot of people killed, hundreds of thousands of people killed, right? You say, well, you know what? I'm not shedding too many tears over that one. Robert Mueller, he did an investigation Trump doesn't like, but at the end of the investigation, he said that Trump didn't collude with Russia, thereby doing Mueller a huge Trump a huge favor, right? And his cause, etc. Robert Mueller was largely a Republican his whole life. So, but nothing is good enough. Nothing is ever good enough for Donald Trump. So he's glad this man is dead. And I guess that, his family, he doesn't care about them at all. This is how a sociopath talks, okay? When you're building something from the ground up, the to-do list never ends. When I started TYT, it wasn't just what if no one watches, it was also how am I supposed to handle the business side while also creating a show? That's really hard. In those moments, you realize you can't do it alone. You need a real partner. For us, that partner for our Shop TYT store is Shopify. And honestly, I wish I had something like that from day one. They've been a terrific partner for us. Shopify is the commerce platform behind 10% of all e-commerce in the US. That's amazing. And it's built to tackle every single one of those worries that keep you up at night. What if you run out of ideas for your product pages? They've packed the platform with helpful AI tools. You can generate product descriptions, write page headlines, or even enhance your photography with just a few clicks. And my picture needs to be enhanced. It's like having a creative director in your pocket. And of course, what if people get to checkout and change their minds because they have to enter all that information? That's the worst, but Shopify has that iconic purple shop pay button. It's faster, it's trusted, and it's why they have the best converting checkout on the planet. Fewer abandoned carts means more sales actually going through to you. It's time to turn those what ifs into with Shopify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/TYT. Go to shopify.com/TYT. That's shopify.com/TYT. So now on to the marriage thing. Why does he keep saying that? Well, Donald Trump is pure as a driven snow, right? He's only been married once and he believes in the American family. Guys, you all know this, right? Married 3 times. One time with Melania, a reporter is interviewing them while Melania is pregnant. Melania goes upstairs. Donald Trump shows the reporter around the house, female reporter, and he does exactly what he described in the Hollywood Access tape. According to the reporter, he pinned her against the wall and grabbed her genitalia. So he, in a different instance, obviously with E. Jean Carroll, he was sued for that. And they said, yeah, that's what he did to her as well. And of course, he's on tape bragging about how he grabs women by the genitalia. And because he's famous, he could just sexually assault them and get away with it. In fact, his own wife, Ivana Trump, that was his first wife, said that she gave him a suggestion on a hair transplant. When it didn't go well, he was in a rage afterwards. He grabbed her by the hair, dragged her on the floor, and then raped her. So I didn't say that, his wife said that at the time, okay? So, but to return the favor or add on more pain to her, after she passed away, that Donald Trump now married to his 3rd wife, took his first wife's body and buried it on one of his golf courses so that he could get a tax cut from the state of New Jersey. That's who Donald Trump is. Meanwhile, he's talking about how other people remarried too quickly for his taste, because he's such a classy guy. Sharon, I mean, have you seen anyone more despicable than this? And he's our leader? That's deeply embarrassing.
Deeply embarrassing. And I think about people my daughter's age, and I was, talking to the team as I was waiting for hour 2 about just how cruel some of this middle school stuff is. They're learning from their leader. I've never seen anything like it so widely accepted. Now, we have put up with it for so long now, good number of years. For the kid, that's all they ever know. They'll never know what we grew up with, even if it was, the facade of what a president is supposed to be. But the fact that this is so normal, it's stunning to me that this is, I don't know how we can ever go back to basic decency. I mean, look at the things he's saying. He is the things that he's saying about other people, and he gets away with it every single time. I don't hear it. Correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't heard any apologies over the course of so many of these just gut-wrenching insults.
Yeah, I mean, you see me call out Democrats, I don't know, like a couple of minutes ago when we did the last story about Cory Booker, right? So a person of principle does that and doesn't let partisanship get in the way. So some Republicans have done that. Chris Christie criticizing him in the first video we showed you, Brit Hume around the edges, right? But do you see a lot of Republican senators out there going, this is disgusting. No, this doesn't represent me and this doesn't represent our voters. Oh no, but they're worried. What if the big orange man then yells at them and says that, charges them with all these different allegations and lies? Okay, I mean, it's proof completely that our politicians are cowards. So in this case, it's easy for the Democrats to criticize them. It would take like just an ounce of courage for Republican politicians to denounce them, and 99% of them have not found that ounce of courage.
Oldest lesson in the book. I think anybody who was chased home by bullies with a grandma standing in the front door, turning them around saying, look, you gotta face it. You gotta face it. And yet here are our politicians elected. Millions of people go out to vote for these clowns, and they cannot do this is like the easiest thing. You don't have to study for this test. Nope, that's it.
Yep, they can't get to the bare minimum level of decency. Can't get there. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.